Hello and welcome to episode 207 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Join me as always is the glorious League Freak. You can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm very good, Andrew. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's been an interesting weekend in footy.
It has, and before we get to that, we need to tell people some things because we've got some statistics here, which are really interesting.
Yeah. And everyone knows how much I love stats.
Yeah, you're a big stats man. And so our sponsor for the podcast, Manscaped, if you go to manscaped.com and put in our exclusive code, which is NRL, you'll get 20% off your purchase and free delivery. So go to Manscaped and put in NRL, get some really cool, like the Lawnmower 3.0. It's like the Cadillac of personal shavers. It's amazing. But here's some statistics, and the first statistic is from Dr. Drew. You know Dr. Drew?
Big fan of his work.
Yeah, he's fantastic. 85% of women think that bad grooming is a major turn-off, which is really interesting. That's why you need to go to Manscaped.
That also says there's 15% of women out there you just need to avoid.
That's very true.
Just get there, just flush out the hairy cags, and if she's looking keen, run.
You want to be able to have your choices, though.
Exactly.
80% of women think that men should manscape below the belt. That's from an independent study, and 89% of men think good grooming is essential to their professional success. So if you want to do well in the stock market, if you want to do well in the footy field, if you want to do well in any walk of life, go to manscaped.com, put in the promo code NRL, exclusive to Fergo and the Freak listeners, and you will get 20% off of any purchase. As I said, the Lawnmower 3.0 is what you've got to go for. They also have something called the Perfect Package 3.0, which has, it's got all sorts of things in it. It's got the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. It's got the Reviver. It's called the Ball Toner. It's so good. I love Manscaped. And it's got the Crop Preserver, which is a ball deodorant. And it is anti-chafing. How about that?
That's phenomenal.
It's fantastic. It really is. It's fantastic. The best sponsor ever. So you go there you and make sure you put in that code NRL, 20% off, free shipping. Go and do it for yourself. Do it for your loved ones. Do it for your career.
Yeah. Now speaking of soft balls.
Yes.
There's been a few tears being shit up in the Brisbane Broncos this week.
Yeah, they don't like losing games.
They don't know how to handle it.
No, it's really weird.
They've had six or seven losses over the last 2 months, and they don't know whether to cry or laugh anymore. It seems.
Yeah, and the weird thing I find is that when they start losing a lot of games, all of these former players that pretend that they're behind the club, they just run in from a distance and start putting the boot into basically everyone.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens.
It's a very Queensland thing because they go on about loyalty in state of origin level, but they lose a few games and they all pile in. It's incredible.
They just go to water. My God.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. It's incredible.
So the story that we've got going here is that, obviously Brodie Croft was in tears, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
After the Broncos lost again. But last weekend after they lost again, this time to the Melbourne Storm, there was footage showing him smiling while he's talking with some of his former teammates at the Melbourne Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the former Broncos players has said he was crying crocodile tears the week before.
Yeah.
That was from, was it Chris Walker who said that?
Chris Walker, yeah. And he did it like in a bit of a... Look, first of all, why do dudes have Instagram? First of all. Why do guys have Instagram? Instagram is for chicks to start taking pictures of their animals or their food, or in some cases their asses. Okay? There's no reason for a dude to have Instagram.
And that's not three different things. Like usually they're trying to get all three of those things all together at the same time.
I'm just sitting here with my fucking ass hanging out, eating this food, and there's my dog.
Yeah.
Which is my surrogate child, you know.
Nothing else is going on in the world.
Yeah.
My ass, my dinner, my fucking dog.
It's really weird. I can tell you what. So basically, this was reported in News Limited. I think it was from Fox Sports, believe it or not. And
I was going to say, can I just say that this is what modern journalism is? It's not going around talking to people, ringing people up, doing anything investigative. It's going onto social media of famous players and just looking at the comments that have been made there. That's journalism today.
Yeah.
You don't leave your desk. Even if we didn't have coronavirus lockdowns anywhere, that is still how they do journalism.
It's funny, hey? It's funny. And look at us. We're talking about it too.
Well, we're independents. We can do this shit if we want to.
Yeah, that's true.
We're criticising the journalists, not the football players.
We have... I'm about to criticise football players. We have given ourselves a free pass on this one. So anyway, Chris Walker, he puts up a post and it's like, you know, he suggests that they were crocodile tears from Brodie Croft. Now, Payne Haas has Instagram as well. And he replies to this and he says, "Why are you coming at him and making up a shit post? You look like a 12-year-old, you 9-ball. Message him instead if you've got a problem, you kid." I don't know what that means, right?
Yeah. Okay,
but then,
that's going more from Payne Haas.
Here's Chris Walker's reply, which is probably even worse. And I'm going to read exactly how they put it on.
Please do.
Bruh,
it's a good start.
If you're okay with him acting like that after a lose, maybe you should have a look at the culture, have a think about it, and get back to me. And then apparently Petro Sivanasiva said, in defence of Payne Haas, he said, "Proud of you, Payne Haas. You of all people, Chris Walker, should know the ups and downs of this game. Give him a break. We all nursed you through some shit during your career. Don't post shit. Support the lad. We have benefited off the game we love. Now give back. Ring the lad and tell him how you conquered those low times instead of throwing shit from afar. Lift the brother up. That's what good men do."
So Petro's suggesting that Brodie Croft should go and move to South or the Roosters or someone. Is that what he's getting at? Isn't that what Chris Walker did?
Yeah, he went on the Magical Mystery Tour, didn't he?
Hook up with someone from home and away.
I just find it really weird that grown men would argue over fucking Instagram.
It's a glorious time we're living in.
It really is. Oh, man. And I love that Chris Walker starts sentences unironically saying bruh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow, yeah, that's the Maroubra influence in him that came through.
Do you know, I got to a point where I was saying it ironically so much that it basically was me saying it normally all the time.
Became part of his vernacular.
Yeah. I was like, bruh, nah. And I was trying to be ironic with it, and I was, but it was just so often I was like, I got to remove this word because people start thinking I'm that fucking douchebag.
Yeah, that was... man, that is funny. I think we need to have an entire podcast dedicated to dopey shit rugby league players say on Instagram.
That would be good. I've actually got a rugby league quotes section on my website. You go there and you can look at some of the quotes that players have had over the years. Maybe we could do a whole episode out of that.
Oh, that'd be a good one. One of my favourites was Tomaru Donicus in 1998 or 99.
Yeah.
And a coach said to him, "What's your game plan, Tommy?" And he said, "We don't have a game plan because if we don't know what we're going to do next, how's the opposition going to know?"
That was brilliant.
Yeah, that team won 2 wooden spoons in a row, by the way.
Yeah, and were historically bad. Yeah, that was. I remember him saying he really regretted saying that. Hey,
Yeah, that was an absolute cracker though.
what's a good one? Okay, here's one from Jason Hetherington on Daryl Halligan's record because Daryl Halligan got a record streak of 30 goals. And Jason Hetherington said, the way he's kicking them, I'd hate to be his dog.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't miss.
Here's another one. Jim Dimmick in 1999, when he was called out by the referee after a fight. And the referee said to him, you were the aggressor? And Jim Dimmick said, of course I was. I fucking smashed him. I remember that. Who was that? It might have been Tim Mander, and he laughed. He was laughing.
It's the obvious ones that are always the best.
Andrew Johns gives us an insight into his messy training techniques. Not too many people know how hard I've worked since I broke my jaw. I have been flogging myself on the training paddock. That's a pretty good one.
Surprised it wasn't Matty John saying that.
I know, right? I'll give one more.
Yeah.
Here's another one along the same lines. Willie Mason gives a graphic account of his methods to be ready for State of Origin 2 in 2007. I've been flogging myself to keep my fitness up there.
It's all about that endurance.
Yeah, well, it's good cardio, bruh.
Oh, yeah. Now, speaking of flogs, Ben Barber made his debut playing AFL on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be embraced in AFL.
He kicked 13 goals in his debut.
Oh, Jesus. Who was he playing against?
That was in 2 games in 1 day.
Oh, my goodness.
Shows you how easy that game is to play.
Yeah. That's pretty funny, that.
A bloke who could never kick in rugby league goes to AFL and does that.
Isn't it funny when you see like AFL types and they're like, oh my God, he kicked a goal. And it's like, hang on a second. So no one stands near them. And they've just got to boot the ball between 2 upright posts. And it can go as high or as low as it wants. It just has to go between the posts. But if you miss, you also get a point. What's difficult about that?
Let's put it into terms that people from overseas would understand who have never watched AFL before.
Yeah.
So say, let's put it in basketball terms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you bring the ball downfield, and then everyone just stops.
You've never seen basketball, have you?
No, not really.
Okay.
Everyone stops, and you just stand there. You just have a free shot.
Yeah.
Like no defense comes running out. You just stand there. You take your free shot, and then you just move down the other end. You just take it in 10 second free shots. The only time there's any challenge going on is in the movement from one end to the other, but not more shots have been taken.
It's like netball, and netball's a crap sport. More people need to call out what just a garbage sport netball is. I'm sorry, but it's not a sport where when you play defense too good, you get a penalty. Okay, so it's like netball where you get close to it, and the netball players are allowed to put their hands straight up in the air, but they can't move.
I'd argue that netball's got more defense than AFL.
It probably does. How far back do you have to stay in AFL? 10 meters or something?
Something like you don't even get fucking close, to be honest, and you can move around off the mark in AFL as well.
Seriously, right now, right? If someone chucked us footy right now, how confident are you could boot a ball from 15 metres out between the posts?
Yeah.
I could do it. Yeah. And I wasn't a great kicker.
Nah.
Like, what's tough about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've practiced kicking Daryl Halligan's dog. I don't think it'd be too much different.
Oh, man.
He's got a Labrador, it's good work on the old knees. That takes work, that does.
Work on your follow through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Snap your bloody leg off otherwise.
There's a good segue there.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of snapping your leg off, the Newcastle Knights, man.
Wow.
They had 2 players pretty much ruin their legs today. It's terrible to watch. Andrew McCulloch. He did. I don't know if it's come out exactly what he's done yet, but it looks like he's done he's ripped the hamstring off the bone right up near his butt.
That's right, which is one of the hardest spots to fix. So he's definitely out for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And God knows how long his rehab's going to be.
Did
When
you
you tear
see,
a muscle like that, it's going to take a while to rehab from.
did you see the replay of when it happened?
Yeah,
It was terrible.
yeah.
I was worried he dislocated his hip or something.
I don't know what it was. He didn't look very good, and you
No,
can just tell by looking at someone.
mm,
You can see the concern on their face based on their reaction sometimes, and yeah, he was bad.
yeah, there's a different look that a player gets when it's like, I've got an injury versus, oh my God, something in my body just broke really badly.
Yeah, like you can see the trauma on their face,
Yeah,
and yeah, he just knew something wasn't right.
yeah.
We saw it the other week when was it Corey Oates had that leg injury.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he wasn't screaming out in pain. He looked
No.
down and saw the injury and just fell over and collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a similar thing for McCulloch. And then he came off, and Connor Watson came on to replace him. I think might have been Connor Watson's first or second game back from an ankle injury, and Watson's done. Was it the tendon?
Yeah, he blew out his Achilles tendon. As soon as he did it, I knew exactly what it was. I've seen a few of those on video. He was in at marker. The ball went one way and then went back the other, and he just turned around. He put his leg back, and it was the classic. It fell from underneath him, and he looked straight back. Because when players do their Achilles, they always say it feels like you're hitting the back of the ankle with something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's another season-ending injury. So now I don't know who the Knights will have playing at hooker. There's suggestions Kurt Mann will move in there, but he played really well at 5'8" yesterday.
What happened to Jaden Brayley, who they recruited from the Sharks? Is he injured as well?
I think he's injured too. Yeah,
because he was their first choice hooker.
I'm pretty sure he's out for the season as well. But I mean, like there were people saying, "Oh, it's a massive blow to Newcastle's title hopes." I don't ever see them as a proper title contender, but it's a shame because they were very solid. You know, they were playing some solid footy, and it just, man, sometimes, ironically to say now, when it rains, it pours.
That's true. To lose two hookers in one game, though, God damn, that's unlucky.
Yeah, very unlucky. Very, very unlucky.
And 3 for the year.
And with injuries like that, like, for both of those injuries for those players are career-changing moments for them. You know, McCulloch is old enough that he might not play footy again. Yeah. And, you know, Watson, I mean, any Achilles injury is devastating. Doesn't matter what sport you play. So let's hope they can get back from them all right.
There is a solution that might be coming up for the Knights.
Yeah.
And this is completely unrelated to the actual story at hand.
Yeah.
So, as people might know, with Toronto pulling out of the Super League,
yes,
there's a lot of talk at the moment about Sonny Bill Williams coming back to the NRL for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter V'landys apparently is going to try and manufacture some sort of system whereby players for this year only are going to be able to have a Super League and an NRL contract at the same time. But I think it's only going to be attributed to Toronto players and no one else.
Yeah.
And that's some sort of thing he's putting in place to allow Sonny Bill Williams to come over. Maybe the Knights could look at doing something similar with someone, say, like Andy Ackers from Toronto, who's been their hooker this year. Because then other than that, they're going to have to put a winger at hooker. And I know everyone knows, especially your thoughts on English rugby league players. I still think having a young hooker from Super League whose job it is to play hooker is going to be better than having a bit part winger filling in there.
It's worth rolling the dice on it at this point for them.
Yeah. And to be honest, even if you paid Andy Ackers his full contract that he's playing, getting paid over in the Super League at the moment, it's not going to be huge money.
No.
But given he's only going to be playing less than half a season, I reckon they could get him on the absolute cheap, and it
Yeah,
wouldn't be a
probably.
bad situation for him.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. I got a big problem with this move though, having having players in the NRL that have two different contracts with two different organisations. I know that Valenti's is saying it's a one-off, but the fact that it is a one-off, I mean, first of all, we all know what it's like with precedent in rugby league. We saw in the 1995 year where they just decided to throw away the eligibility rules for Origin and international footy, and I mean, it took a good like nearly 20 years to sort that back out.
Yeah.
They've been very stern with players that have said, "Oh, I'd like to go and play for 3 months in Japan in rugby union and then come back to the NRL before the season starts." And then all of a sudden, this is all right. Like it makes no sense that it should be all right. And remember there was a year that Israel Folau wanted to come back to the Parramatta Eels, and the NRL wouldn't allow it because they said the contract he was going to sign was too small.
Yeah, he was essentially said no to because the contract that Paramount offered him, I think it might have been like 400,000 or 500,000 a year, which was at the time would have made him one of the highest paid wingers in the NRL.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been paying him about 60% of what he was getting paid by Rugby Australia at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went, no, you're not going to be paying him enough.
And this is like less than, and they said that they were going to allow Sonny Bill Williams to be signed up with, and it's going to be the Roosters for less than 10% of what his current deal is with the Toronto Wolfpack, which is absolutely outrageous and is literally and I'm not saying that there's any backroom deal being done by anyone. I'm not even saying that Sonny Bill is not. I mean, Sonny Bill might have said to the Toronto Wolfpack, "Look, let's put my contract on hold. All right, I live in this fantasy world where I don't want your $5 million. I just want $400,000 to play a quarter of the season, right?" So he's going to turn down, what is it, $4.6 million to link up with the Roosters, right?
Chicken feed.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so it just is outrageous, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen. We've got a really, really good contract system in the NRL, and it shouldn't be played with like that. And look, I'm all for the NRL saying yes. You want to play in the NRL? Yes. You're a superstar that wants to be here? We'll do everything we can to clear the decks for you. But this seems absolutely outrageous to me, and I don't think it should be allowed. And I can't believe that more fans aren't blowing up about it. And my thought is the only reason they're not blowing up about it is because Sonny Bill Williams is old.
And hasn't been playing all that well. So he's not being seen as a direct threat. I think if this was to go ahead, I'm largely in agreement with you. I don't think we should be allowing two contracts to be held at one time.
No.
But I think if something like this is to go ahead for this 1 year only in these really unique circumstances, then it should be only the Warriors who are allowed to take advantage of it.
I'd be happy with that because the Warriors are an extraordinary situation. Their depth is being destroyed, not only by things like injuries and normal things, but players just giving up, needing to go home for a hug.
Exactly. So I think that would be the only way I'd allow this to go through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's a really interesting one. And we did briefly chat off air about, how many of these actual players from the Toronto team would come across. And this is not a criticism of the actual players because NRL clubs, especially the ones in Australia, they've got access to an awful lot of depth other than the Warriors. Yeah. Most of their depth is over in New Zealand. So they don't really need to, there's no real need for them to fall back on anyone. Even the Roosters don't need Sonny Bill Williams.
Not really, no. They'd be fine without him. It'd be more difficult, but, that's the game.
Yeah. So it's more of a case of I can't see the reason why this should go ahead at all because it's not like there's a massive shortage of rugby league players for for the majority of clubs in the NRL. The only one is short is the Warriors. I mean, we've got two Parramatta players are going to spend the rest of the year with the Warriors this year just to help them out.
Alvaro and Michael Jennings' brother.
Yeah, the other Jennings. No, not Jennings. That one. The other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and good on them for doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only reason why I do this is to keep the Warriors with a decent stock of players and they can keep playing.
You know what the Warriors situation has shown is that when push comes to shove, you can relocate a club really quickly. You can move them anywhere you want them to, and you can throw together a squad super fast.
Yeah.
Like basically the Warriors have relocated and they're a Central Coast team right now. Now I know that there's all the administration and stuff in New Zealand, but that's all just backroom stuff. They're basically playing out of the Central Coast, and I'm not saying we should move the Warriors. The Warriors, I think next season, and you brought it up, they should play every single game next year in New Zealand, and we should have 2 New Zealand teams, in my opinion. But it just shows you that for all these teams that say, you could never move us and all this stuff, man, they can do it in a week.
Yep. And I also think there's more than enough talent to go around to make it happen as well, to bring in another team. So,
yeah,
no issue whatsoever. And so despite that news from the Knights losing two hookers in one game,
mm-hmm.
They went on to lose to the last place Bulldogs, and their coach wasn't happy.
Nah, he blew up. He was disgusted.
And that's the sort of attitude that's been missing at Newcastle from coaches for too long.
Yeah, and what he's done with the team that Nathan Brown left, and they haven't really added anyone all that great. It's outstanding. It's outstanding what the Knights have done. He was really upset that the fans were sitting there in the rain up there in Newcastle and the Knights lost like that. And they lost legitimately. Like there was nothing you could say in that game where the Bulldogs didn't just flat out win the match. They controlled it really well, and they should be really proud of themselves. Steve Georgalis gets the win. So he's 50-50 now as the coach of the Bulldogs. And yeah, it was a really good win, and it just gets them that little step closer to making sure the Broncos get the wooden spoon, which I love.
There's 2 things I want to bring up out of this too.
Yeah.
First one is, I reckon the Broncos fans would give anything to have a coach that would come along and say to his players what Adam O'Brien said to the Knights players after that game.
Yeah.
Because he just ripped into him and says, that's just not fucking good enough.
Yeah.
Yet Seabold will not go anywhere near using that sort of language publicly towards the Broncos players.
Yep.
And let's be honest, the Broncos' best performance since the game restarted was far worse than the Knights' performance today. And the Knights had a genuine reason not to win that game. And O'Brien still gave an absolute bootful. That's not good enough. Whereas Seabold's going there softly and reminding everyone about how long his contract is.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that you can get such a difference in attitudes between coaches. I'm just looking for what Adam O'Brien said here. Just trying to find the quotes. Bulldogs, I can't find them. All I can find is Steve Georgalis quotes. And good luck to him too. It's a really impressive win. They're playing better under him, aren't they?
Well, this is the thing. I think Dean Payne had them playing with the right attitude.
Mm.
And that was, you never, ever, ever give up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all he had going for them.
Yeah.
And to be honest, even when they were losing games, they weren't like the Broncos. They weren't letting 40 points in every single time they played.
Mm-hmm.
They were making a challenge out of it, but their attack was insanely pedestrian.
Yeah, definitely.
That looks to have changed a little bit under Georgalis.
I like that he's brought Lewis in and he's sticking with him a little bit. That's been good to see.
I just want to say too, I've got a great stat. And this is Stephen Georgalis' first win as an NRL coach since August 27, 2011.
Wow, that's a long time between drinks. I was thinking about that today, actually, because they showed him, I think it was before the match on Fox Sports, and he's very quietly spoken. I've only ever heard really nice things about him. And I was thinking, man, he's been an assistant coach for a long time now.
Yeah. No, it's a long time between drinks. There was another story too, and that is the Bulldogs are currently in negotiations with Kieran Foran.
Mm-hmm.
And Foran is very much aware that he's taking a pay cut on his next deal.
Yeah.
And he's not even worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the figure that's been put forward as to what the Bulldogs have offered him is around $300,000 to $400,000 a year. And he's willing to negotiate around that.
I'd 300,000 I'd be interested in. 400 I wouldn't. Just because he's so injury prone. You could sign him for 300 and he doesn't play a game for you that year.
You know what? Given the Bulldogs roster at the moment,
mm-hmm.
I even wouldn't be worried signing him for $400,000.
Okay.
I know it is a little bit overs, but if you get him fit for half the season, that's pretty good value. And his body looks like it's holding up pretty well. He's been targeted a fair bit in the defence at the moment, and
mm-hmm.
he's not even coming out looking like he's somewhat sore at any time. He's looking pretty fresh.
Mm-hmm.
His work and attack is slowly building confidence. It's slowly getting a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to improve as the season goes on. But I say full credit to him for being willing to take that pay cut. I mean, you can afford to, given how much money you got for so little service in the last few years.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think he's a good head to have around.
I tell you what, I would not have said it out loud.
No. But yeah, 300 to $400,000 for someone like that. When you've got such a young spine at that club, I think that's money worth spending. Even if he's injured, he's still going to be around them to help, with training and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's money worth spending. It frees up, $600,000-$700,000.
They really need Lewis to make that leap. That's what it comes down to. And I think Lewis looks to me like he could be a really, really good halfback, but he just, and this is a problem under pay. He really wasn't getting the week in, week out footy that he needed. And I'm hoping that with this week in, week out footy, he at least next year, it all starts to click for him a little bit, because I really do like a lot of the things about him.
I put him in a similar sort of group as Luke Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see all the potential he's got and the things that he does on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But the one big criticism I've got of Luke Brooks is a similar one I've got for Lewis, and that is he never once looks like he commands ownership of the team.
Yeah. He looks like he's along for the ride sometimes.
Yeah.
And that changes. Like, there was times when Cleary looked the same way for the Panthers, where you could see it wasn't his team last year. And then this year, now, it was just undoubtedly his team. And you look at him now, he's got a crazy command of the game. I think he's the best halfback in the world right now.
Yeah, I think that came about after the Origin series last year.
Yeah.
That's when you first started seeing him at the NRL level, looking like he wanted to run the team.
Yeah, yeah.
Prior to that, he was just sort of hoping someone else was going to do all the leadership stuff.
Well, it was all Maloney. Like, he was along for the ride, and Maloney was the one that was doing it.
Yeah.
And look, that's understandable. That's kind of what Maloney's job was there. But it's been, as a Panthers fan, seeing him, especially since coming back from the break earlier this year and his TikTok ban, he has been absolutely outstanding. And like, if he played like this for the rest of his career, wow, what a career he's going to have. And the crazy thing is, he's probably going to get better.
I wonder if the bullshit and the fallout from that TikTok crap is something that made him realise he needed to pull his fucking head in a bit too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
because he's been faultless.
He really has.
since he come back from that.
He's been incredible. There was a kick he put in today. Panthers that didn't make up a great deal of room out of their own end. And he kicked a ball like he must have gone like 70 metres. And it just sailed over the fullback's head and it changed the game. It just turned it all around. And the thing that I've really been impressed with is even when the Panthers aren't playing all that great, and there's been times where they haven't played great, he still looks the goods. They're not playing poorly because of him. It's normally other things in the team. And yeah, I'm so excited as a Panthers fan right now. We're sitting top of the ladder. That was a game we normally would have lost last year, and we won it. We're grinding teams out. We've only lost one game all year. We've drawn another one. It's the best start that we've ever had as a club. And I think I said to you a few weeks ago now in that Parramatta game that they lost, that's the first time I've seen something out of the Panthers where I was like, oh, this feels 2003-ish. And I still feel that way when I watch them. Yeah,
very much so. Got the talent in that back line. Going forever about that.
Crichton is incredible. Absolutely incredible. He could be the best centre in the world this time next year and it not even be a question. Like, that's how good he's playing. And they did that without kick out.
Yeah, that was the thing too. Their attack was a bit clunky tonight. And that came through too because the Titans' defence, they stood up.
Yeah.
So good. That second half, their defence was fucking rock solid. And so it made me wonder how Penrith were going to attack if they had to go a few games or a few weeks without kick out on the side, because there were times when the Gold Coast defence wasn't doing anything special.
Mm-hmm.
It was just working as a really good unit together.
Yeah.
And the Panthers were unable to get them to... They were unable to break up that defensive line some of the times.
Yeah.
And they tried a lot of different things, which is good. Most teams, when they get like that, they just run the same play over and over again until hopefully it works.
Yeah.
Penrith was trying a fair bit at them, and they just couldn't crack them.
And I think...
I think that's something that it's good to have someone like Kick out there, because you can just throw in the ball and just let him do some X factor bullshit, and magic happens and he scores a try, and it's enough to break a game open. But without him there, it got a bit harder to do.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing about the Panthers. If their attack starts to click, like right now, I feel like the Panthers are the best team in the comp, but it's pretty close. But if their attack starts to click, I don't think it's even close. And you look at their backline, like Aitkins come in this week at fullback, and he played really, really well. You've said for a long time he should be their fullback. And I think he finally showed what he can do as a fullback in this game. Played really great. Naden and Crichton are just nightmares out wide, but they're super young. Watini Zalesniak, he played really well coming into the first grade team. Luai goes from being a little bit quiet at times to doing things where you're like, oh, that's why he's in the side, because he can come up with something. But there's so many good young players in this team, and they're mostly in the back line. And you can see them growing every week. You can see every so often, like there was a run that Naden did today where he just rampaged. They couldn't stop him. And it was like, oh man, when these dudes start getting stronger, getting seasoned, getting experienced, they're going to be ridiculously good. But they've just got to get through these growing pains right now. And I think the growing pains are that they can be stuffed, especially when you get down to the try line and they go a little bit too much side to side. They don't throw in too much variation to the opposition team. I think that hurts them.
I think that side-to-side thing close to the line is very much an Ivan Cleary thing.
Yeah.
He used to do, the Tigers were doing that an awful lot when he was there as well as coach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes Kikau so good, is that he just runs straight.
Yeah.
And I think they need someone similar to that out on the other side of the field. If you've got two straight runners out there, setting three in from the sideline. That changes the dynamic because otherwise, as we saw today with the Titans, you just got to be able to slide left to right, and you can pretty much keep most of the attacking plays out.
Yeah, I think that's why I would like to see Kickout move more into the middle of the field, and I understand why they put him out wide, because against outside backs, the outside backs they've got no chance. Like 3 and 4 of them have no chance. But I think that they could play him closer to the middle of the field when they're attacking a try line, and they can make that middle of the field defence compress, trying to stop him, and then that's going to open it up for the likes of Crichton and Naden to use their power and footwork out wide. And I think that would serve the Panthers more than using Kickout not only as a decoy, which they do more times than not, but then having him, then having the opposition team scramble to stop it getting to him. I think it's better off just, having him power through the middle of the field. And that will naturally open something up out wide for everyone else. But it's, that comes down to coaching, and, hopefully we see that eventually. I think Kickout's ready for that move, but I'm not going to criticize most of the other Panthers players just because they're so young. And they're still
can't criticize them. They're playing pretty good footy at the moment, and as it is with any young team, we're seeing with some of the Tigers players as well at the moment in the forwards there, when they're playing well, their confidence is up. They look like absolute world beaters.
Mm-hmm.
It's the issue for a lot of coaches is when those young guys, which we're also seeing at the Broncos, they have a few losses in a row and they drop their bundle a bit.
Yeah.
It's getting them motivated and getting them back up to get that confidence back, to get those wins back, to get the momentum back.
That's what's so scary about this Panthers season right now, is that the young guys that are there, they're not racking up 50 points every week. So it's not like they're just playing Harlem Globetrotter footy and they're just blowing teams away. They're learning, it's their first grade experience, how to grind away wins, how to stick in there for 80 minutes, how to not give up. And this is their normal. And on top of that, they're so talented. And I look at someone like Stephen Crichton, who has the world at his feet as a footy player. And all he knows as a footy player is this sort of like determination and don't give up and stuff. And it is building to something really nice for the Panthers. And I don't want to keep on stressing that, but as a Panthers fan, I am super excited. And it's, I got my premiership in 2003, so I don't have that longing for a premiership, but so I can just enjoy this ride, and I'm loving it. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm willing to say that Penrith are a title contender this year, only because they're so young.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Because they're so young and so much, almost all of their squad is under the age of 26.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they've only got Tamo, Fare, Mansour are the only players in their 30s, and Tamo's 31. He's the oldest. Fare, Mansour's 30. Tedovano's 29. And Coruscant and Capel are both 27. Next oldest after that is Isa Yeo, who's 25, and Kiko's 25.
Yeah.
It's insane. And to me, that means you've got a roster that's going to be genuine heavyweights for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
and even more.
And Cleary, who, he could, if he doesn't get any better than he is today, and he plays this football for 15 years.
He's 22.
That's crazy.
He's 22.
It's crazy. And his defense is so good. You don't have to worry about him defensively.
That has come along so well this year, his defense.
It really has. And the thing of, this is a young dude that has grown up in this environment. He's not fazed by anything.
No. He's so good. So with the win that the Bulldogs had on the weekend, essentially, if the Broncos keep losing games and the Bulldogs get another win, the Broncos are going to be last on the ladder. Because the points difference for the two is quite dramatic. The Bulldogs are minus 120, the Broncos are minus 195. They've got the worst points difference.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird because the Broncos are so much more talented than the Bulldogs. But if I had to put my money on which team will win more games going forward, I think it would have to be the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Broncos, they're playing like a team that's being coached by a bloke who is lost.
Yeah.
But he's confused. He's just guessing.
Yeah, and I mean, like even last week, they shuffled everyone around again.
To no avail.
And to know, like, you don't look at it and go, oh, I see why he's doing that. Like, putting Milford to fullback, it was simply to hope that something happens. It wasn't because that you were like, it wasn't because there was something that it was like, oh yeah, fullback, because he did that last year and it didn't work either. That's right. Last year, you know, there's a lot of, it really is. It's a clueless coach, and you know, I feel sorry for the Broncos players. That is a dream job. Someone's going to get that job, and they're going to clear out some of the old players that they don't need, and they are going to turn that Broncos team to something special if those Broncos players hang around.
I guess the big concern for the club at the moment is now that they've not been able to compete with the Gold Coast Titans for the signature of David Fafita.
Yeah.
How many more Broncos players might follow him?
Yeah, and part of me wonders if, and they've got like Pangai Jr., Payne Haas, Offengowie. They're three of their forwards that are just amazing. There's another young bloke. What's his name? Let me see if I can find him.
Carrigan?
Yes.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's very, very good. Now, part of me wonders if you can't carry them all. They're all great players, but I feel like you might have two sets of front rowers in there, you know, and you just can't carry them all.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. They've got to make a decision on Darius Boyd.
He needs to stop playing. And this isn't against Darius Boyd. He deserves every cent. He deserves every last cent of his contract. But for the team, they need to go in a different direction, and they need to try something different. And that needs to be the end for Darius Boyd. I would say the same thing for Ben Teo. What are they doing? Like, who are they trying to save having Ben Teo out there? It's just time for Ben Teo to be put out to pasture like he should have been. And Darius Boyd, you know, they need to look towards the long-term future. And that's the problem with them not sacking the coach right now, is that they're kind of treading water. And there's got to be, you know, these professional footy players, they know what's happening.
Yeah. I think Seabold needs to come to a decision this week, and that is either he plays Darius Boyd at fullback or he doesn't play Darius Boyd at all, because he put a 5/8 at fullback last week and, you know, same result, nothing changed.
Yeah.
I think we've seen enough of the Darius Boyd at centre exercise to know that is not a good idea.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the lateral movement to be a defender there anymore. He may have been in the past, not anymore.
No.
And I honestly think the only position he can play these days is on the wing.
Yeah.
You know, you've only got to move one direction. That's to shut down an opposition player coming at you, because you've got the sideline on the other side protecting you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'd put Darius Boyd if he has to be in the NRL side every week.
And that's the thing, he doesn't have to be.
No.
And yet it's a rotten amount of salary to chew up every week that's watching from the stands. But what are they trying to win? They're not winning. Try something different. And Billy Slater actually said he should go back to fullback.
Yeah, and look, my reason for suggesting that is fullback is a position where you need to have players there who know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Boyd knows how to play at fullback.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's capable of playing, it's a different matter. But you need to have someone there who plays it and knows the role, knows positionally knows what to do.
Yeah.
And that was never an issue with Darius Boyd when he was at fullback. His positional play was still fine. What was missing was his defensive ability, because that was the one thing that always made him stand out from other fullbacks, was that he was rock solid in defence, and that started to disappear in his game.
Yeah.
which is why moving him to centre was a stupid idea, because at fullback you might make 2 or 3 tackles a game, but at centre you're going to be making 20 odd.
Yeah.
Why would you move someone whose defence, when they're only going to make 2 or 3 tackles a game, is waning into a position where they're going to make 20 tackles a game? It just made no sense, and it's done nothing for the side.
Yeah, and like having Milford hardly run the ball in their last game playing at fullback. And like I can understand Milford's on a lot of money, and so there's going to be criticism that comes for that. And if ever he feels like, he's been hard done by, you go and lie in your bed full of money. But I just think that there's so many problems in that team. There's $10 million worth of talent that they run out there, and none of it's working. So I find it hard to criticize any one player. I mean, you could criticize all of their players. That's why they're so bad this season. Even Payne Haas, it's been times where Payne Haas hasn't played his best footy. So, and I think it just comes down to coach, and I really do. I think that a really good coach, you get them in there. That Broncos team's a 7th place team.
Easy. And I put out some stats on Twitter during the week, and I was looking at how the Broncos, statistically in a lot of different areas, have not just gone backwards, but they've plummeted down the list when it comes to things like post-contact meters, try assists, all this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it just shows that the coach is not coaching attacking plays anymore.
Yeah.
He's not coaching an effective defensive structure because they're leaking points like crazy.
Yeah.
They're turning the ball over so much. He needs to get back to just doing basic things. Okay, he's got to admit right now and face the fact that the Broncos are going to be pretty close to getting the wooden spoon this year. Mm-hmm. So how's about I just work on getting a few things sorted out, write this year off, and try and fix some things in the next 9 weeks. And that is part one. Let's get the defense working. Stop teams conceding scoring more than 20 points against us on a regular basis.
Yep.
Don't care if we lose. Just keep them to 20 or less.
And I think that, and I hate using, the fluffy words that are always used, but that's about having desire in defence. That's about getting up quickly. On the technical side of things, I do worry about the lateral movement of some of their bigger forwards, and that's why I think that maybe the structure of their forward pack isn't ideal for them. I feel like they need a couple of just mobile second rowers. Not even great footy players, just mobile tackling machines that, their footwork, that they don't get, caught out in defence. Because I think that the Broncos have been caught in a thing of like they've had all of these really good young giant forwards, and you think, put them out there and who's going to stop us? But sometimes it just doesn't work. And I think that they've fallen into that trap where it hasn't worked. I think it'd be smart for them to, and I don't know how you could do it without causing a lot of problems, but I think it would be smart for them to get someone like a Pangai Jr., and I'd love Pangai Jr., but get someone like him and ask other clubs, would they do a swap with him and another good player? And I don't even have anyone in mind, but they just need a couple of mobile second rowers, and it'd help them so much, in my opinion.
Yeah, they've got so much to fix up, and the only way you're going to do this is they need to start being competitive.
Yeah.
Because right now, their defense is god awful atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bulldogs, who are last and have lost one game more, have conceded 254 points this year, which is 113 points less than what the Broncos have conceded.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
That is really crazy.
That is all level of wrong. And that right there is a lack of commitment and a lack of technical know-how by the Broncos defence.
Yeah.
The Melbourne Storm on the weekend played pretty average footy once again. They did it the week before against the Titans. And they played the Broncos this week, didn't play that good either, and still put 48 points on.
Yeah, and there was a good probably 15 to 20 minutes there in the first half where things were going the Broncos' way. The Storm were making some terrible errors, like dropping the ball again and again and again. Craig Bellamy must have almost, destroyed the eardrums of everyone that was in the room with him in the coaching box. But they still managed to put up 48 points. And they did it, as you say, it wasn't like they were playing a typical Storm rampage and you can't stop them game. They kind of just ambled their way to 48 points.
It was a training run.
Yeah.
That's what the Broncos are now. They're just a training run. And they've got to stop thinking about how to score points. They need to focus on stopping points being scored.
Mm.
I mean, the Bulldogs are a classic example. Their defence has always been pretty damn good for what they've got talent-wise, even last year.
Oh, yeah.
That if they come up against a team that struggles when you come up against a good defensive outfit like that, they'll make mistakes. The Bulldogs are able to do just enough in attack to get the odd win and take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos have far more talent, attacking-wise, than the teams in the bottom 7 at least who they're competing with.
Yeah.
To be able to take advantage of those moments if their defence is aiming up and doing their job. And at the moment, it's just not.
Well, like looking at the ladder, the Broncos have more talent than the Bulldogs. I'm willing to say they got more talent than the Titans. I think they've got more talent than the Warriors, although the Warriors do have RTS. I think overall they've got more talent than the Cowboys, but the Cowboys have Tomalolo. I like them better overall than the Dragons, but damn, the Dragons are a bloody good team on paper.
On paper, brilliant side on paper.
Yeah, but as they play right now, I mean, they're very much like the Broncos. And then you start getting into the Rabbitohs and West Tigers where it starts getting a bit iffy, you know. But yeah, look, the Sharks are in 7th place. I think the Broncos have more talent than the Sharks by a long way.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that at all. And this is the thing is, on paper they've got a damn good side, and this is what separates, in nowadays comp. This is what separates good coaching from bad coaching. Is that you can get a roster as good as what the Broncos and the Dragons have got, but because the coaching is not so good, they're sitting there in the bottom 8.
Yeah.
And you look at the West Tigers who don't actually have that fantastic of a roster, and yet, they're sitting there competing for a spot in the top 8. You look at the Sharks who don't have a great roster either at the moment, and they're in the top 8. And I can't believe that there's talk that John Morris could be losing his job, and yet the Dragons and the Broncos aren't even sitting there considering about getting rid of their coach.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, hey? And look, the Sharks are winning some rotten games. I've had Sharks fans that have been really upset with me because they think Sean Johnson's playing well this season, and I'm here to tell you he's not. I don't think he's playing well at all. We saw him strutting around after he won that game against the Warriors the other week, which was just fucking embarrassing. They're winning games against some pretty poor teams, but they're there. You can't take it away from them. They're in 7th place. They're above the Manly Sea Eagles. I think the Sea Eagles are a much better team than Sharks, but it doesn't matter if they're still there in 7th place.
And Sharks, second best attacking team in the comp.
Yeah. They've played some bludger teams, though.
They may have done.
They're on the bludger. They're on the bludger Walk of Fame at the moment.
But a lot of teams have played those sides as well and haven't scored as many points as the Sharks have. And
That's
this
true.
is the thing, okay? The Sharks, under Shane Flanagan, were clueless when it came to scoring points.
Yeah.
Like, getting to 18 points in a game was an absolute friggin' fluke for the Sharks sometimes.
Paul Gallen was their halfback.
Yeah, well, that's true. But, they'd still win a lot of games. But it'd be like 16-12, 14-12, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Every win was a grind. It was boring. This Sharks team knows how to score points.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of them. And sure, they might be up against bad opposition, but you know what? You've got to beat them.
Yeah.
And too often in the past, the Sharks have lost to those teams. They've got an atrocious record against the Titans and at a time when the Sharks were regular finalists and the Titans were regular spooners.
Mm-hmm.
So they're now putting those points on there, and that comes down to the good coaching that John Morris has done. I mean, I don't think Sean Johnson's been as great as a lot of fans think he has been. I also don't think he's been that bad. I think he's just pretty much where he's capable of playing.
I think for the most part this season he's been absolutely atrocious. devastatingly bad. And I actually, whenever I've said that, it's funny because I've had a lot of Warriors fans agree with me. You know what's funny though? The Sharks play the Broncos this weekend.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Okay, in the past, this would be one of those games where, on paper, you look at the form and you go, "Well, Sharks should win," and then the Sharks would lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the hurdle that the Sharks have got to try and overcome.
Yeah.
Because they've done it once already this year. You know, when they came up against the Titans, they should have. You know, on paper they're going to always beat the Titans, but they still go into the game going, "Oh, you know, the Titans might get them here."
It's interesting how teams have those teams that it's like, oh, this is that game that they're going to drop.
Yeah. Tigers and Titans is a classic one. Tigers will always lose to the Titans when the Tigers are going well.
You know, the Panthers are playing the Seagulls this week. I believe the Panthers' all-time record for biggest win is against the Seagulls from memory. But this would normally be a game that I'd go into and think, you know what, season's gone great, and we should beat the Seagulls, really should, but I think that the Seagulls will win. But and that's why if they win this one, it's like, oh man, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the big test for Penrith, the first big one anyway, coming into the finals run.
Yeah,
because Manly's just a tricky side. They're even trickier when Tom Trbojevic isn't playing because you don't really get a proper handle on what their form's like.
Yeah, you don't know. Like, I feel like when he plays, you're like, okay, they're going to be this good. We got to expect this. When he doesn't play, you're like, okay, well, they're missing that great player. They should be easier to beat, but then they'll go out and still beat you. Yeah,
like they had 40 points put on them by Cronulla the week after they beat Canberra.
Mm.
They then lost to Newcastle. They then got flogged by a woeful Dragon side and then beat Parramatta.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're going to be. You're not going to know what they're going to do at the moment. So, and Manly are more than capable of beating Penrith. They've got the cattle to do it.
I agree. I think Manly on their day can beat. We've seen they've beaten the Eels. I think they can beat the Panthers, the Storm, and the Roosters, and the Raiders, and the Sharks, and the Knights. I think they can beat all them teams on their day. But the problem is, I bet on them a couple of weeks ago. It was that game that Daly Cherry Evans, and he had a bludger. He had the worst game of his career. I talked about it. If they had won, I would have got
that was against the Dragons.
Yeah, $2,500 or something. I tipped all the winners, and that was the last game.
So yeah, it's interesting week. I think going forward, Broncos need to sack Seabold.
Yep. Who do you bring in?
Well, I suppose a lot of talk's going to be around Paul Green going there. I don't think he's the right man for the job, to be honest.
I agree.
I'd probably, of what's available, I'd probably want to get Griffin back there.
I would want Jeff Tuvey.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they're going to want Jeff Tuvey there. At the same time, I don't think they're going to want to go back to Anthony Griffin either, but he's possibly the best option they've got available because he wasn't doing bad there.
No, that'd be such a Paul White move as well. Which is he needs to go as well.
There is talk that Paul White's going to be ending his tenure there at the end of the year, and he might be getting replaced by Ben Eichen.
No. Are you serious? Who reported that?
Oh, it's been in the news in the rumours section for about 2 or 3 years. Ben Eichen's going to become the new Broncos CEO.
No way.
Yeah, it's one of those underlying stories that's always there.
What's he ever run?
NRL 360.
Yeah, exactly. I've got nothing against Ben Eichen, but I want a businessman in charge of it all.
Well, we've seen how that's gone with Paul White there. Maybe they do need someone from NRL 360 on there.
Maybe they need to fucking find Tommy. What's Tommy up to these days? We'll offer him like 3 cartons of Winnie Reds. He'd do it.
I don't know. They need something. That's a club that needs a clean out from the top.
Yeah.
Not from the playing, but from the actual management of the club.
100%.
CEOs and stuff like that, board members. Sorry, Lockyer, but you got to go, man.
It's no good having a figurehead as a board member, I don't think.
No.
Because what are they? Who are they a figurehead for? Like when you sit down in a boardroom with a bunch of successful people, the dumbest person in the room is a footy player. I'm sorry to say, and the people in the boardroom aren't impressed, and having that board member for the rest of everyone else, it does nothing.
Yeah, I don't know why they put Lockyer in a position like that. Purely, and this is not a criticism of Lockyer and who he is, but it's just the fact that he had no experience coming into that role, and he, apparently, from what a lot of sources say, he had a pretty major role in getting Seabold to the club.
So if you want a player like that around your club, I don't even make them a part of your coaching staff. I find some sort of other position for them, and it can't be like a mentor role, because as soon as you hear mentor, you're like, well, they're a hanger-on, right?
Yeah, just make them an ambassador or something like that.
Yeah, it has to be some other role where that you never see them in training gear, but they're there and they can talk to players. Players can approach them and stuff like that, and they can be maybe a go-between between the board and the CEO and the playing staff.
Kind of like a mentor.
Yeah, but you can't call them a mentor. Because if somebody says that, someone comes up to me and says, this is Andrew Ferguson and he's our mentor around here, the first thing I think is, this fucking wanker, I'm not talking to him, fucking mentor. Go for your fucking narc.
Oh, plenty of people say about me, I'm not even a mentor.
You are definitely not a narc. You're rock solid.
A rock solid narc.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, man, that was just like most of our episodes, we come out and we say, oh, we'll just do a quick 20-minute job.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've shat on that. Have we had any emails that are something we could chew into now?
We've had a couple. First of all, had one by PK. PK, I'm just going to put this on as an article, okay, on my website. It's gigantic. It's fantastic. It is comprehensive. I like it.
PK isn't Paul Kent by chance, is he?
No, he's not. I can read what he's saying. He's not. There's not lots of arms and R's in there and stuff like that. He doesn't seem to be angry. He doesn't seem to be resentful of other people's successes. So it's definitely not Paul Kent. It's
sweet. That's good. That's good.
So anyway,
apologies, PK, for any offence that may have caused that comment. Yeah. Well, none was intended, but just wanted to clarify things.
Okay, so we have one by our good friend TBO Mars, and he has two of them for us. They're both short and sweet, very good. He says, "Hey boys, how are we? I'm good. How are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
We just was just messaging to comment on the Nick Kotrick thing you said here, that he signed for 600,000, not close. He signed for 600,000, not close to $1 million, and he'll be playing centre with DWZ, and DWZ will be staying on the wing. Meany will be our fullback, and most Dogs want to retain Foran for 300,000 to 400,000 for one season, and bring in a Blake Green to help steer the ship." He says a Blake Green. I don't think he means the Blake Green.
No, I don't even want a Blake Green. If I'm going to spend money on a halfback, who's going to be 300 or 400k, I'd rather just keep Foran. At least he's got a bit of attacking idea of what he's doing.
Yeah.
I know Blake Green is just pedestrian in attack.
Yeah. But
I'm not saying just Blake Green, but a Blake Green type player. I mean, they're just that's someone like Chad Townsend as well. They don't offer anything in attack. They're not a threat.
I don't think anyone's gotten worse in the off season more than Chad Townsend.
And you know what? I know you were criticising Sean Johnson before. I think Townsend is the worst half the Sharks have got at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
I would be picking Sean Johnson every week before I pick Chad Townsend again.
Yep. I agree.
And that's the thing. Townsend's defence has fallen off a cliff. It's been horrible. The reading of the opposition attacks has been woeful.
Mm-hmm.
It has improved the last few weeks. I think absolute shocker back when they played Penrith.
Mm-hmm.
He was guessing. he'd come running out of the line on one play and not get to the ball carrier in time and just create a massive gap, create massive overlaps. And other times he'd stay back for too long and they'd just target him and run over him and score. And he was just guessing. It hasn't been so bad the last week, but still, you don't pick him for the defence either. And his attack hasn't done much. I mean, people mocked the fact that he's got bugger all try assists for a halfback.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, that's bad. That is bad. Anyway, so TB Omar says, we need a class 9. I agree 100% there. Mm-hmm. And reckon we should go after Starling from the Raiders. The kid has something and he's off contract. Thoughts?
Starling is a good player. I don't know who else they could really go after, I guess. There's not too many 9s around, really, to be honest.
Unless you're the Melbourne Storm and you fucking stop
That's
buying.
True. If you're Melbourne Storm, that's an idea for him, you know. This is an issue the Storm's going to have. If Cameron Smith decides to play on for another year, they get Harry Grant back again next year. So they're going to have 2 test hookers in Brandon Smith and Cameron Smith at the club, and then Harry Grant, who, I mean, he's widely been pushed to be the Maroons hooker this year.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. The kid's playing absolutely great footy.
I tend to think that in a very Storm thing to happen, they've been blessed by the fact that Brandon Smith, Craig Bellamy can go up to him and say, hey, you want to play prop? And he's like, oh, yeah, get me in there.
Yeah.
And do you want to play in the back row? Do you want to play off the bench? He just is a footy nut and will play anywhere and doesn't care where it is. And I think that they've been blessed by that. I also think that the thing that they've got with Brandon Smith and Harry Grant is you cannot watch Cameron Smith play and be in anything other than reverence for him if you're a hooker. Like, there's just not one chink in his armor where you say, oh, yeah, that should be my role, you know? He's slow, he's not good, he's not sharp, because he's like playing as good as he's ever played. Yeah.
The problem the Storm are going to have, though, is they're going to try and fit 3 players into essentially 2 roles, and that's going to be one on the starting 9 jumper and one on the bench.
I wonder if
all 3 deserve to be in the NRL side.
Yeah.
And Grant said that he's going to honour his contract with the Storm, which I think he's got 2 more years there.
Wow.
Brandon Smith apparently is talking about he wants to be the 9 at the Storm.
Yeah.
So even if Cameron Smith retires, they're still going to try and fit 2 players into one role. And they're both 80-minute players. So you're not going to be able to carry one on the bench. So if I'm the Bulldogs, I talk to Brandon Smith. Yeah. And I say, we'll give you a starting job here in the 9 jumper. Hell, you can even be club captain if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think any team that isn't in the year of both Smith and Harry Grant, I think they're being silly. Like, I mean, how many times have we sat here and said, oh, Brandon Smith would be perfect for that team?
Yeah. And Brandon Smith is a genuine competitor. I think he's going to be one of those few Melbourne Storm players who could leave the Storm system and still be an absolute all-star player. And he's the sort of competitor that the Bulldogs need in their forward pack, in their spine, and he's got youth on his side. I can't see the Melbourne Storm getting rid of Harry Grant. They fought so hard to get him and keep him there and get him on a contract.
Yeah.
And they made sure that he wasn't going to leave this club even under this loan deal.
Yeah,
we're all seeing now why.
Beyond for him.
And we're all seeing now why. So I don't think they've got any intention of letting Harry Grant go. I think they see him as their long-term Cameron Smith replacement, which just means Brandon Smith's on the outer as far as the full-time 9 gig goes. So that's why the Bulldogs, I think, should go after him.
Yeah, I wonder how, and I don't know anything about his junior football, but I wonder if Harry Grant could play halfback.
With his attacking style, absolutely. He played all his junior footy, I believe, up in Queensland.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he played some halfback.
Like, he seems like he's got the skill set that he could, if he, like, you give him a season there, especially at the Storm, and in a year from now, we're like, wow, this we just turned out the best halfback that Queensland's had for a long time. Fuck. But I wonder if there is a solution there, because if say you go to Harry Grant and say, look, you're not playing hooker as much as you want to. You got 2 years here. Let us turn you into a halfback, and you're not going to like it at first. But if this best case scenario, it works, and you go from being able to command, at most $700,000, $800,000 as the best hooker in the game one day to possibly over $1 million as a very good halfback, or you just go to a different club and play hooker again.
Yeah.
I mean, the Storm are that sort of... I would say most teams, I'd say, fuck off. They can't do that. The Storm, I'd say, oh, yeah, they can... I mean, they've got Jerome Hughes playing in the halves. They can do a lot with not much.
I think they'd be... I wouldn't be surprised if the Storm were open to letting Brandon Smith go if it meant they got Harry Grant on a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, if Cameron Smith does play on, it's only going to be for 1 more year.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I think...
And it's not because of his form. I think he's just going to go, yeah, you know what, I'm pretty much done now. Because at the end of next year, he'll hit 450 first-grade games. Yeah. I don't think he'd want to go any further than that.
I think he is a footy head, and I think that it will be a case of eventually his body is going to just let him down eventually. It's got to. But I look at him now, and I'm not seeing any physical drop-off from him.
He's kind of like Vince Carter.
A little bit, yeah.
Could just keep going.
It's insane. This is a dude, we're talking about playing 450 first-grade games.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's legitimately around the corner. It's not going to take that long for him to get there.
Yeah, that's like 3 really bloody good long careers.
Yeah.
More wins than the fucking New Zealand Warriors have in their history.
It's absurd.
It really is.
So yeah, that's a good chat, that one.
Yeah. So his second one.
What's he got?
Second one. Also, boys, you were questioning the decision to let Pay go, but the boys' game in the last 2 weeks has lifted. That's true. Last week was our highest score in like 12 months, and we got a win today against the Knights. Pay is a great guy, but his game plan was poor, and his team list was poor, always playing people out of position. Look how good Meany went at fullback, and our pack is above average, but could never show it due to Pay's favourite getting selected. And then he lists a team: Napa, Tolman, Thompson, Jackson, Fatili Mariner, Sue, Ogden, Tomoga. And then he says, it is really, really solid forward pack. Just need a few key players in positions, and this team would be a top 8 side. You might take the piss out of that, but that's how I see it. # Dogs of War.
Yeah, but this is the thing that is being forgotten, is the Dogs of War mentality only came back once Pay got into the coaching role there. And that Dogs of War thing was all about grinding teams down and making sure they had to work their ass off to get the win.
Yeah.
And that's a mentality that Dean Pay brought back to the club.
Yeah.
I agree with the other stuff about the team selections and the gameplay, stuff like that. I don't think he was ever put in place there to be a long-term option at the club. I'm just opposed to the idea of sacking him because they weren't performing. I don't think there's too many coaches that would have got them performing insanely much better than what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
see,
so,
I agree. It feels to me like, I wonder if Dean Pay could have his time over again. I feel like there was probably a thought within his head of being a little bit more conservative, seeing what he's got, trying plays in different positions, because in his mind, he's there for the long term. And that's what everyone at the club said to him when he got the contract there. That's why he took the contract.
Yeah.
And I think if he had have known he was only going to be there for a short amount of time, whether he would have done things very, very differently.
Of course.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have the horrible thing on his resume of being replaced by Trent Barrett.
Yeah. Poor bloke.
That's just cruel, that is.
Yeah.
So, condolences to Pay and his family for that one.
And PK, I'll put your article up. When you're reading this, you'll probably know that your article's up.
Yeah. Thanks for those, PK. Awesome emails.
Oh, well, that was TB Omar's.
Oh, TB Omar's. You too.
Yeah. TB Omar's.
All fantastic stuff.
Great follower of mine. Fantastic.
Good content producer.
He really is. He really is one of the best.
That's what he is. We could be nasty and call you a journalist, but we won't go there.
No, I would never call TB Omar's a journalist. No way. Somebody called me a journalist today on Twitter. They were like, "You're one of those journalists / fans that only picks up negatives in the game." I'm like, "Oh, shut up! It's not negatives. It's just your team sucks."
See, negatives, yes. Journalists, no.
Yeah. Negatives, absolutely. Journalists, oh, please.
Come on. That's below the belt. Alrighty, well, I suppose that wraps up another good chat.
Yeah, it's been good fun. It's nice when you turn up for a chat, Andrew.
Yeah, I've been doing it less and less. It's good that one of us is keen on doing this podcast every single day.
You know what? You've been busy though, so we let you off. It's all right.
Yeah, the Rona's got me busy.
Yeah, when you say the Rona's got you busy, you mean the Rona's got you making bank.
Oh yeah.
That's the bank, bruh.
That's the problem, man. It takes me what used to be like a 10-minute walk from the front door into the office here where I can do the podcast. It does take about 6 or 7 hours because I've got to wade through all of the cash in the hallways. It's hard work, man. Yeah, because it's not just the Rona. It's all the shares I've got.
Oh yeah,
all the shares I've got in the Brisbane Bomber shares.
And then you got the with your vested interests.
Yeah, I mean the reason why I've been talking down the Broncos so hard is because it's boosting the price on the Bombers.
I saw Nick Politis. He apparently sold shares in the Broncos, and I was like, how is he allowed to have ownership in two different teams?
How is that not a conflict of interest?
In a gigantic, massive, oh my God, what the hell is going on here way? Terrible.
Crazy. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
There was a point, and he might not have had shares at that point, where he had a handshake deal with Wayne Bennett to go there, and he said, the only reason I won't go to the Roosters is if it gets leaked to the media, and it got leaked to the media, and so Wayne Bennett said, go fuck yourself. And I wonder if he did that deal at the time when he also owned shares in the Broncos.
It's a very interesting question.
You would have thought that there would maybe be some journalist that would have asked that question, hey?
No.
Yeah, that's right. Probably too busy listing the top 10 hairstyles in the game.
Too busy trawling through fucking Instagram comments.
I can't wait to see the articles this week of what is with the spate of players slipping over. It's like, yeah, it's called a fucking downfall. It's called a fucking thunderstorm, you dumb cunt.
It's rain.
Yeah.
It's moisture.
Are we having a spate of ACL injuries? No, it's one.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it'll happen.
Jerseys, Andrew.
It'll happen. Well, it'll be the tight bike shorts they wear underneath.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. They pull their socks down.
Their drawstrings on their pants are done too tight.
Yeah.
Maybe they're using the wrong knot method.
Yeah, what type of... I don't know anything about knots.
Nah. We don't want to get into knot talk. I don't know much about knots either.
No.
I know how to make some. I don't know what they're called, and I don't know how to undo them.
I can tie my shoelaces.
Let's not start bragging here.
I know, right?
My ego's fragile.
Been doing it for 3 weeks now.
I'm still stuck with Velcro.
Speaking of Velcro, if you go to manscaped.com, right, you won't have to worry about Velcro. because you will be able to pick up the Lawnmower 3.0 for 20% off if you use our code NRL. And you'll be looking just smart, sophisticated. Let's face it, it's going to look bigger as well. Okay.
Smooth.
It will look fantastic. So when you get it out, she's going to go, wow, you're ready for business. And she'll have to. So go to manscaped.com, put in the code NRL, and Fergo and the Freak will give you 20% off and free shipping. Go and get your Manscaped.
Absolutely. That's what we do for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're here to make sure you get lucky.
Yeah. And you can catch us on Twitter at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on Instagram, Fergo Freak Pod, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We've even got our own website, Fergo and the Freak. Oh, is it fergoandthefreak.com?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only been saying it for a few months.
Yeah, it's all right. It's the, you know what? It's the same name that our podcast is, hey?
I should remember that.
Yeah.
It's all of the fumes coming off all of the cash in the office here. It's starting to get to me a bit.
Yeah, it's all those ink fumes. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
All that polymer. What's it made out of? What's our Australian money made out of? I feel like it's polymer.
Yeah, I think it's polymer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ice cream lids.
Yes, probably is.
It's the same texture.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, go over to fergoandthefreak.com and you can check out all our podcast episodes over there, and you can contact us on there as well and send us an email.
Yeah. Hey, where would I go if I wanted to contribute to the digitisation of rugby league history?
Good question. It'll be go to patreon.com/RL Project. You can make a monthly donation there, starting from as low as $1 a month.
That's awesome. So where would I go if I wanted to contribute to rugby league content creation?
Well, that one I do know. That's easy. You just go to patreon.com/LeagueFreak.
Okay.
And that guy over there, he's got certain tiers set up there, so you can you can donate $3, $5, $10 a month. I think it's something along those lines.
Yep.
And you can go to these higher tiers he's got there, where you can donate even more and get merch.
Free merch after 3 months. You sign up for 3 months, free merch, mug, T-shirt. The $10 one, you get a sticker as well after 3 months. So Nadine will be getting her sticker soon.
Get into that, people. That sounds good. And we are very slowly working on some podcast merch as well.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I should do when we're finished here? I'll send you the 3 pictures I've got to go with. I saw one that's been made for you that we talked about. Mm-hmm. It looks very good.
Nice.
It looks real good. So, yeah, we'll be doing that. And then our next podcast, which will be up probably on Monday afternoon. So you're probably listening to this Monday morning or whatever. We're going to be talking to Cher and Lil from Toronto. They're Toronto Wolfpack fans. So I'll be talking to them and just talking about the Toronto situation, how they got into rugby league and that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a good chat.
And they've got their own podcast, haven't they?
I don't know if it's a podcast or it's more like it's almost like a show. Like they do lots of YouTube stuff. Like to call it a podcast, I think would be underselling it. They do lots of video stuff.
Maybe it's a vodcast.
A vlog, they call that.
A vlog.
Yeah.
No, I'm going with vodcast because I want to.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got heaps and heaps and heaps of videos. I'll link it all up tomorrow in the episode information. But yeah, it's going to be cool to talk to them because they do so much media stuff over there, and it's been great. They've helped really support the game in Toronto, so it's going to be interesting to see what they think about the whole situation there.
Absolutely, tune into that, people. That's going to be awesome. And on that note, we'll catch us all next time.